Right, let's get going. Natasha just said, I'm Luke. That's all I'm going to do in terms of introductions. You've got my name on the piece of paper. Feel free to come and have a chat afterwards. I'm not going to use this. Sorry, Natasha. I'm just going to start by telling a story, if that's okay. It has to be okay. You're sitting there now. It's about my third ever day in recruitment as a trainee recruitment consultant in an office. Can you hear me? No? I am, aren't I? Can I pick it up? I can't. Right, third day. In a recruitment consultancy, 2 days out of training, first day on the floor, motivated, it's the afternoon. Already thought about quitting 7 times that day. Tried to quit once already. Got sent to lunch by my manager. Come back, have a think about it. A piece of divine intervention occurred, a recruitment miracle. I came back, a job had been called in by a company that no one had ever spoken to before. Judging by the looks on all of my colleagues' faces, that doesn't happen very often, but I wasn't to know that. I got on the call with the business, took what I thought was a really thorough candidate call, well, not candidate call, briefing call. This is awful. Sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I found a place. Took what I thought was a really thorough call. It was a finance assistant position. About half an hour, they said, when can we expect CVs? I was advised by my training, 24 hours, okay, Thursday afternoon, we're ready to go. So there was, Wednesday afternoon, ready to Boolean search the absolute crap out of this position. I'm going to find the best candidates that I can possibly find. So I spent the next best part of the working day, till about Thursday afternoon, speaking to, I probably spoke to about 20 people. Yeah, I'd say about 20. Shortlisted the 5 very best. I've spoken to them about the position, about the role. I've spoken to them about what they wanted to do, as we would all do as recruiters. And then Thursday afternoon, sent them across in an email that I've never spent so long on an email in my life, but that's what I sent across. I went to make a coffee, naively thought that I was going to come back to an email in my inbox saying how awesome I was and how awesome the candidates were, and that they wanted to interview all 5 people right away. Didn't happen, obviously. Friday afternoon, no feedback. Didn't chase them. Got to Monday morning, still no feedback. I was just speaking to the candidates over the Thursday, over the Friday, just telling them, oh, we're just waiting on availability. Called the business about midday on the Monday. Managed to catch the lady that I spoke to on the Wednesday, and she said, oh, I was just about to call you and give you some feedback. At the time, I was like, great. Obviously, X amount of years later, I now know that was the biggest lie ever. She said, I'll just go, let me search for the feedback in my inbox. So I was like, okay, great. She then said the words, we want to see 2 people. My mind just imploded. I hadn't even thought about the fact that they weren't going to see the other 3, or they were only going to see 2 out of the 5. I'd been speaking to these candidates, and I'd promised them all interviews. So while she was reeling off the feedback, and she was saying, oh, one of the candidates didn't have the required amount of experience based on the job description. One of them had had too many jobs in the past X amount of years. One of them had poor academic results. She took her A-levels 10 years ago, but she was being judged later down the line, 10 years later, because of some poor academic results that she got. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the fact that I never then gave a CV to a hiring manager again, because I definitely did. But I do believe that was when the seed, if you will, was planted in my mind about how we use CVs, how they're interpreted even, and how we use them. They're a bit like reading 25% of a book and then trying to write a review on it. It's impossible. You're not even getting 25% of the story based on somebody's piece of paper in front of them. So CVs have been in practice since the 1950s. If anyone's done any research on CVs at all, Da Vinci actually made the first one in the 1400s. And then 500 years later, we're still trying to perfect it. And the 1950s is when they became standard practice, and they started being used at interviews, and they weren't perfect then. But it's 70 years since the 1950s, and we're still using them in exactly the same way. We're still using them to shortlist and not refine, restrict our talent pool. That's what we're doing. We're restricting our talent pool based on CVs, and we've been doing that since the 1950s. So there's a famous Albert Einstein quote, which you've all heard, probably twice today already, but if you're doing the same thing over and over again and you expect different results, it is insanity. And I'll caveat that by saying if there is anyone in the room who follows the process of inviting people in to interview based purely on their CV and they get awesome results every time, come and speak to me afterwards, because I'm missing a trick and I want to hear from you. So I'm not going to talk about the what, because I feel that's quite obvious. The managers are never given the CV at any point. They're given a name, they're given a time, they're given a room or a place to show up to. But why? It almost entirely eliminates unconscious bias. You're never, ever going to get rid of it. You get it based on somebody's name. From the moment they meet that person at reception, they're going to have it based on what they're wearing. You even have it based on somebody's voice. So you can't take it out entirely, but I'm trying to remove as much of it as possible. It's to give candidates equal opportunities. We don't want them coming in already at a disadvantage or already at an advantage because of 25% of their own story. Now, we also get better hiring decisions. We hire the right people. We don't hire what they've written on a piece of paper. And that's really why I do it. I'm not saying that we need to blow up our process. We don't. But this is the process that I'm pretty sure most of us all follow. The first two being the most important. The intake, the brief, whatever you want to call it, where you find out all that good stuff from the manager and all that stuff that you're going to tell the candidate and why you're the best business to work for. And then you've got the interview design session. So this part, for me, is the key part. They're not going in with a CV. So you've got to make sure that they're equipped with the right tools to find out what they need to. They need to feel comfortable asking the right questions. Now, they're not going to have done this before, so it's going to feel uncomfortable doing anything for the first time. But guide them through it, educate them. Talk to them about unconscious bias and how they make judgments without even realising that that's exactly what unconscious bias is. It's a subconscious analytical process that occurs. And if you can design your interview 1, interview 2, however many interviews you have in each process, design that with them, make sure that they understand it and they know exactly what they need to find out from the candidate, it'll be fine. I'm just going to ask, how do we choose anything? And this is an actual question. And if nobody answers, I will pick on somebody. Ladies, make an eye contact with me with the glasses. Yeah, please.
How do we choose anything?
Yeah.
It's very subjective.
So what do we use to choose anything? Okay. I'd say we use our senses. We listen to music. We smell flowers. We taste food. We feel cushions, I suppose. We look at CVs. Now, not for 1 second am I saying that we should be smelling, touching, or tasting candidates. Definitely don't do that. Again. Yeah, again. Somebody call security. So we listen at interview stage, but the part before that is when we're using our eyes. We're reading their CV, and like anything, we react to what pleases our senses. But there's probably 60 people in this room who've all got different preferences. Somebody might like, well, nobody likes Times New Roman, hopefully, but Arial, Comic Sans, different fonts, different how it's laid out, how a CV looks. What order is it in? Are there boxes around each block of text? That's what we do. And the moment we start to read CVs, we start that subconscious analytical process that we like to call gut feel. And you've all heard this, I'm assuming, a ridiculous amount of times. Is something I can't put my finger on. It's something not quite right. I'm not sure. It's just my gut. It's a load of crap, to be honest. In this case, there you go. When we assess a situation or a candidate in this situation, our brains make instantaneous snap decisions. It's based on upbringing. It can be based on experiences. It can be based on the media. I'll give you an example. A show of hands, who's been travelling before? Okay, cool. If somebody's CV opens with, I've just returned from an amazing gap year, travelling wherever you went, you're hooked already. You want to call that candidate. You want to carry on reading their CV. Ironically, you want to talk to that candidate in the hope that travelling comes up, not even about the role which they've applied for or you're approaching them for. That's what you're looking for. I'll flip it. I hate gardening. It's disgusting. I'd literally rather do anything else but gardening. If somebody opens up their CV with, I'm a passionate landscape gardener, I'm switched off. I can't help that. But as recruiters, we can look past that. Hiring managers can't. The process that we all call gut feel, when left unchallenged, it can lead people down a dangerous path. You then start looking for reasons to support that initial judgment. If you don't like somebody's CV, you'll then read through it, trying to find holes in it, trying to find reasons to not call that candidate, or at interview stage, reasons to not hire that candidate. So another interactive question, what is a CV? Sorry? Yeah? Life history, okay. So generally, it's a history of somebody's work and education experience, right? Nodding or shaking heads? Nodding, good. They're copied and pasted job descriptions. How many times have you seen it where somebody's been in a role for 2 to 3 months, yet they've conquered the world. They've done absolutely everything. But it must be true, it's on the CV, right? It doesn't include evidence of behaviours. It does include evidence of drive, resilience, time management skills, verbal communication skills. And if you were to ask 100 hiring managers what they would prefer, somebody with a nice job tenure, which actually, if I did a show of hands now and I asked whether 2 to 4 years or 4 to 6 years was good, we'd all have different opinions even then. There was a famous study by Schmidt and Hunter, just to talk about some of the science behind it. If you were to hire somebody based purely on job experience, you have an 18% chance of that person being successful. If it's based purely on years of education, it's 10%. So even if you just combine the two, you've got just over 1 in 4 chance of that person being successful in their role. Now, we've adapted the interview process. We have done that. We've added GMA tests. We've added structured and unstructured interviews. But we've not adapted the bit before that. We're still shortlisting and restricting our talent pool based on arguably 2 of the least valid predictors of future performance. So we need to be, if it's something completely different, but we need to be trying something new. Is there any CrossFit fans in the room? Show of hands? 1, wow, okay. I had a joke then, but it's not going to be funny. If you could all, actually, I'll rewind. 18.3 is the average number of seconds. It's based on 2018 data that somebody reads a CV before making a judgment on that and deciding whether to continue with that CV or that candidate or not. So some of you might have already seen them, but there's 3 CVs underneath your seat. On my mark, people just ignore that, okay? I'm going to give you 52.9 seconds to look through those CVs and rank them best to worst, on your opinion. So I'm just going to say from now. You've got 15 seconds. Right, stop, time's up. Quick show of hands, who had Amandeep's CV as their number one? Oh, controversial. Who had Jordan's CV as their number one? Who had Alex's? Okay, good. Who realised that they were all the same candidate? Nice. Yet you've still managed to rank them 1 to 3. I actually have no words, okay. But that's exactly what we do. The moment you look at that CV, you've all picked what one is most visually pleasing. You've already, in your head, you already think that one candidate's better than the other, even though it's the exact same information. It's mental. There's not an official way to write a CV. If you Google it, you get 218 results. And they're only the ones that have been uploaded to the internet. There's probably 60 other opinions in here on how to write a CV. But there's not a right one. So who is anybody to judge anyone else's CV? We've spoken about perceptions a little, and I'm just going to throw some labels up on the screen that we've all seen before. And what I'm about to show you are 4 genuine pieces of feedback for each label that I've received over my career. And I'll just go through the first box. 7 years in the same role at the same company, I've had somebody perceive that as that person's loyal. Another person has said that person's institutionalised. Another person said that that person's patient, and the other one said that they're not ambitious. Are any of those true? I've no idea. They've not even spoken to the candidate. So how can they attach that perception with that label? I'm not going to go through all of the other 3 labels, but you'll have all experienced, I'm imagining, this at some point. Oh, that person won't be able to adapt to this industry. It's too fast-paced. Okay, but what if they do adapt? For the moment a candidate comes into your business, whether it's first stage, they might even come to see you, but they're in a race. And generally, whoever gets to the finish line first gets the offer. That's just how I see the whole interview process. With CVs, we get this. Now, humour me. We've got 1, 2, 3. Candidate 1, 2, 3. It's an unfair race. Candidate 3 is at a huge benefit because they have a CV that particular hiring manager likes. It's size 10, Arial font in blue. Blue happens to be their favourite colour, and because of that, they're at an advantage over candidate 2 because they use purple. Well, that doesn't matter, does it? No. But already, that manager's ranked those 3 candidates going in, and our friend gut feel starts to take over. We then go back to that loop, and they'll look for reasons to not hire candidate 2. They'll subconsciously look for reasons to not hire candidate 2, but they'll look for reasons to not hire candidate 1, but they'll look for reasons to hire candidate 3. If you remove the CV, you get the best possible chance of a fair, consistent race interview process, which enables candidates to have a really awesome experience and enables us to make some really good decisions. We hire the right people, not the one with the best CV. I'm just going to run you through some benefits that we found at Travelport. It does reduce the time to hire. The whole concept is based on a trust-based relationship with the manager. There might be some of you thinking, okay, but the manager has to say yes to a CV. And no, they don't. Take that back. You take the shortlisting responsibility. And because you've removed the hiring manager review stage, sometimes that can be a couple of hours. Sometimes it can be 2 weeks. So even if you just remove that, you get a shorter time to hire, but you'll also increase the accuracy of the candidates you hire. They'll be better. They'll stay longer as well. The hiring manager, because they don't have a CV and you've spent that time with them during the interview design session, they'll be much more engaged. From the moment they pick the candidate up, all they know is their name. So they're going to want to find out as much as they possibly can. And because they're more engaged, they'll enjoy it a lot more too. And I already spoke about the awesome hires that we will make from it and the increased retention rates. For candidates, they get a level playing field. They get to come in and truly be judged for, not be judged, but I suppose they'll be able to give their own account instead of having somebody else tell their story for them. They'll get an awesome experience. They have somebody 100% truly dedicate their time to that person in the interview, as opposed to somebody going in there to say, oh, I haven't got high hopes for this person because they didn't get A star at A level. For recruiters, it's an opportunity to be a true business partner. Through the training you'll deliver, through the time that you'll spend with the managers, you'll enhance the relationships you already have. They might even naturally involve you at offer stage. So and we're taking back the shortlisting process. I just want to stress that. You won't have calls with the candidates anymore and you think, oh my God, this person's awesome. They're going to be really right for us and we're going to be really right for them. Yet the manager doesn't want to see them because of the piece of paper. Wrong slide. I'm going to finish by just going back to the start and reaffirm what I mentioned earlier. CVs have been in use for 70 years in the same way. So whether it's a no CV approach or whether it's something completely different, at the very least, we should be trying something new. Any questions?